She mocked a disabled man, refused to apologize, and dismissed critics until Kash Patel methodically exposed what she desperately wanted to hide. It wasn't the first time a politician made an insensitive remark, but this one sparked a firestorm that wouldn't die down. The clip lasted barely 18 seconds. Representative Jasmine Crockett stood at a podium during an equality rally in Austin, Texas. Her voice was sharp as she criticized Governor Greg Abbott's policies on civil rights. "Governor Hot Wheels," she said with a smirk, "wants to roll over everyone's freedoms." The audience gave an uncomfortable laugh, a few clapped hesitantly. By midnight, when the clip hit social media, that nervous laughter had transformed into nationwide outrage. Crockett, a first-term Democratic Congresswoman from Texas, had made headlines before with her fiery rhetoric and confrontational style. But mocking a man in a wheelchair crossed a line that many felt shouldn't be crossed, regardless of political affiliation. Social media exploded. Hashtags trended for days. News programs ran the clip on repeat. Within hours, journalists were contacting disability advocacy groups, political analysts, and Abbott's office. The backlash quickly became bipartisan. On a popular daytime talk show, co-host Maria Delgado shook her head as they replayed the footage. "I don't care what your politics are," she said firmly. "Making fun of someone's disability is simply unacceptable." If you're finding this story revealing about today's political climate, hit that subscribe button to join our conversation about accountability in politics. In Houston, a retired Marine named James Harper, who lost his right leg in Afghanistan, posted a video from his wheelchair directly addressing Crockett. "We can disagree on policy all day long," he said, his voice steady but emotional. "But when you attack someone's physical condition, you're not critiquing their ideas, you're just being cruel." His raw, unfiltered response resonated, over 4 million views in just 24 hours. Yet Crockett didn't apologize. In a follow-up interview with a Dallas radio station, she doubled down. "I'm not mocking his disability," she insisted. "I'm talking about how he steamrolls over our civil liberties in this state. Y'all are too sensitive." Those 4 words, "y'all are too sensitive," would be played and replayed endlessly in the coming days. But while media outlets amplified the controversy, a different kind of response was taking shape away from the spotlight. In a modest office in Alexandria, Virginia, Kash Patel watched Crockett's clips with careful attention. He wasn't ranting. He wasn't firing off angry tweets. He was listening intently. A methodical strategist with a background in law and intelligence work, Patel had earned a reputation for being calculated and precise when holding public figures accountable. He'd been monitoring Crockett's rhetoric for some time. To him, the Hot Wheels comment wasn't just offensive, it was part of a troubling pattern: impulsive statements, zero accountability, and increasingly divisive language that transformed serious policy debates into performance art. He closed his laptop, picked up a legal pad, and began making notes. But while Patel quietly built his case, the public controversy continued to intensify. For days had passed since the Hot Wheels video emerged. The story showed no signs of fading. Every news program replayed the footage, Crockett's words, her dismissive expression, her stubborn refusal to acknowledge any wrongdoing. Then another clip surfaced, this one from a podcast where she casually remarked, "Sometimes I feel like Senator Cruz just needs to be hit over the head." Like hard. Really hard. The timing couldn't have been worse. Just 2 weeks earlier, she'd created controversy by suggesting Elon Musk should be taken down after he criticized legislation she co-sponsored. Her supporters called it a figure of speech. Critics, including Kash Patel, saw something more concerning. If you appreciate this deep dive into political accountability rather than just surface-level coverage, take a second to like this video and subscribe. The noise grew louder, but inside Crockett's Washington office, a tense quiet had settled. Staff spoke in whispers. Phones rang constantly. Major donors were asking uncomfortable questions. A 28-year-old speechwriter named Marcus Williams sat in the corner, trying to craft damage control messaging. He glanced at his colleague, Sophia Chen, who managed press relations. She looked exhausted. Defeated. She doesn't get it, Sophia whispered, shaking her head. She thinks it's just another Twitter storm. That will blow over, Marcus nodded slowly. This one feels different though. It struck a nerve with people back in Texas. Democratic colleagues were being asked where they stood. Most avoided direct answers. A few issued carefully worded statements about focusing on policy rather than personalities. But notably, no one rushed to defend her comments. Meanwhile, Patel worked methodically, staying away from social media as he compiled evidence with his small team. They gathered facts, timelines, and archived interviews. They found previous panel discussions, committee hearings, and public forums where Crockett had made similarly aggressive remarks. One clip from a community meeting where she accused a concerned parent of being on the payroll of hate was particularly damaging. Patel didn't rush. In a media environment obsessed with immediate reactions, his patient approach was strategic. While commentators chased the latest headline, he was building a comprehensive case, one element at a time. Then on Friday evening, everything escalated. Crockett appeared on a late-night panel show hosted by comedian Derek Matthews. The audience was sympathetic. The atmosphere was relaxed. But halfway through, Matthews turned serious. "Real talk, Congresswoman," he said. "Do you regret calling the governor Hot Wheels?" A lot of people in the disability community were hurt by that. Crockett smiled tightly. If they knew what he was doing to vulnerable communities in this state, they'd call him worse. There was an uncomfortable silence. Matthews blinked, clearly surprised. "So that's your answer?" Crockett didn't flinch. "I don't sugarcoat things." The silence was deafening. And by morning, the clip was everywhere. That moment, her final refusal to show even a hint of empathy shifted the conversation. People weren't just talking about what she said, but what it revealed about her character: cold, unapologetic, disconnected. Not a momentary lapse, but a pattern of behavior. And while public opinion steadily turned against her, Kash Patel was about to release something that would transform the entire narrative. If you're finding value in this analysis of how political discourse unfolds, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. The video wasn't flashy, no dramatic music, no rapid cuts or sensational graphics. Just Kash Patel, seated at a plain desk, a legal pad in front of him, speaking directly to the camera. "Let's talk about Representative Jasmine Crockett," he began, his voice measured and calm. "Because this isn't just about one offensive comment. It's about a pattern of behavior. And I believe Americans deserve to see the complete picture." The video, titled Kash Patel, Accountability Matters, was uploaded at noon on a Tuesday. Within 3 hours, it had 500,000 views. By midnight, it surpassed 2.5 million. Patel didn't shout. He didn't mock. Instead, he presented evidence like a prosecutor laying out a case. Clip by clip, he walked viewers through a series of incidents, each more concerning than the last. First the Hot Wheels comment, then the Ted Cruz remark, the Elon Musk statement, a moment during a university panel where Crockett accused a student of embodying fascism simply for asking about financial transparency. Patel didn't edit the footage deceptively. He let it play in context. Then he would pause. "Does that sound like public service?" he would ask calmly. "Or does it sound like someone intoxicated by their own rhetoric?" He didn't just criticize, he explained, carefully and clearly. He discussed the importance of tone, responsibility, and the difference between passionate advocacy and reckless antagonism. Then he broadened the perspective. You can't effectively govern if you're constantly dividing. You can't protect people's rights if you're primarily focused on attacking anyone who disagrees with you. That's not leadership. That's ego. People listened not because of Patel's political affiliations, but because of his approach. He wasn't trying to go viral. He was trying to make a substantive point. In one powerful segment, he addressed veterans directly. You understand what true courage looks like. You've witnessed it firsthand. I think you'd agree, mocking someone's disability because you disagree with their politics isn't courage. It's a form of cowardice hiding behind a microphone. That message resonated deeply. Veterans organizations shared the video widely. Even liberals who had previously dismissed Patel began acknowledging he's not wrong on this one. In a small cafe in San Antonio, a retired teacher named Elena Martinez watched the video on her tablet. She had voted for Crockett and even volunteered for her campaign. Now, she stared at the screen with growing disappointment. "This isn't what I signed up for," she murmured. "I thought she was principled. I didn't realize she was mean-spirited." At the conclusion of the 18-minute video, Patel didn't demand Crockett's resignation. He didn't attack her personally. He simply looked into the camera and said, "We deserve better from all sides of the political spectrum. We need leaders, not performers." That final line, simple, direct, authentic, stayed with viewers. By the next morning, major news outlets had picked up Patel's video. Headlines read, "Kash Patel's methodical critique of Crockett goes viral, and no attacks, just evidence. Patel's takedown earns bipartisan respect." Even more telling, several Democrats began quietly informing journalists, "Off the record, we've had concerns about her approach for some time." Comment below with your thoughts on whether politicians should be held accountable for their words, not just their policies. Your perspective matters in this conversation. But Crockett wasn't backing down, and her refusal to reconsider was about to cost her significantly more than negative headlines. By Thursday, cracks were appearing in her support system. In a closed-door meeting at Democratic headquarters, strategists gathered around a conference table. Phones buzzed constantly. Several members watched segments of Patel's video, expressions grave. Finally, Rebecca Martinez, a veteran political consultant who had guided dozens of successful campaigns, broke the silence. "We have a serious problem," she said firmly. "And it's not just the comment. It's her refusal to acknowledge any misstep." Everyone understood exactly what she meant. Crockett had rejected every opportunity to clarify, soften, or apologize for her remarks. She continued tweeting defensively, sharing memes mocking Abbott, doubling down as if popularity were simply a matter of stubbornness. Most concerning of all, Patel's video wasn't losing momentum, it was gaining it. Morning shows, primetime news, podcasts, radio programs, it was unavoidable. People weren't simply reacting emotionally, they were quoting his specific points. His measured delivery made his critique all the more devastating. He didn't need to raise his voice, Crockett's own words caused the damage. That's what worried her allies most. It was almost impossible to counter effectively. In her Texas campaign office, Crockett sat across from her campaign manager, Thomas Reynolds, who looked increasingly concerned. "We need to address this directly," he urged. Not just dismiss Patel or his video. He deliberately kept himself out of the spotlight. "This isn't about him." Crockett appeared unmoved. "He's trying to derail me with selective editing and fake concern. I won't give him that satisfaction." Thomas exhaled slowly. "With respect, it's not about him anymore. It's about public perception. People aren't just upset about what you said, they're troubled by how you've responded to criticism." Silence filled the room. Crockett turned to her computer. Let them be upset then. That moment of defiance would ultimately cost her even more support. Over the next 2 days, small cracks became major fractures. A prominent Texas newspaper published an editorial titled "The Arrogance of Power: Why Words Matter in Leadership." When questioned about the controversy, a moderate Democratic senator carefully stated that leaders must choose their words thoughtfully, hardly a ringing endorsement. Then came a pivotal moment during a community forum in Dallas. An older woman stood up and asked pointedly, "If you can say something that hurtful without a second thought, what else are you willing to overlook?" The room fell silent. People were beginning to question not just Crockett's judgment, but her fundamental character. Meanwhile, Patel wasn't celebrating his video's success. He returned to his regular work, only commenting when directly asked by reporters. "This isn't about generating views," he said simply. "It's about maintaining standards of decency. That's all." With that brief statement, he demonstrated more leadership than some politicians manage in entire press conferences. He didn't attack Crockett personally. He didn't gloat. That restraint made his critique even more powerful. But within Crockett's inner circle, things were unraveling rapidly, and the greatest pressure was yet to come. If you're finding this examination of political accountability valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe to support more content that goes beyond surface level. The atmosphere in Crockett's Washington headquarters had changed dramatically. The energetic confidence that once defined the office had been replaced by tense silence. Staff members worked quietly, avoiding eye contact with one another. Behind closed doors, Jasmine met with her core team, 5 people who had been with her from the beginning: Thomas Reynolds, her campaign manager, Sophia from Media Relations, Marcus, the speechwriter, a young aide named Zoe, and Victoria Blackwell, a seasoned political strategist who had flown in that morning from Dallas. Victoria didn't waste time. "We need to be completely honest here. This controversy isn't disappearing, and if you maintain this approach, your seat could be at risk next year." Crockett leaned back. "So you're telling me to apologize for speaking plainly?" Victoria frowned. "No, I'm saying there's a crucial difference between speaking truth and burning bridges while doing it." Zoe, loyal but inexperienced, tried to defend her boss. But her supporters love her directness. "They did," Sophia corrected flatly. "Now they're questioning if there's substance behind the style. Even people who appreciate boldness are wondering if there's any wisdom guiding it." The room fell silent. Marcus slid a folder across the table. "This is media coverage from just the past day and a half. Patel's video has now reached 4.5 million views, and he hasn't commented further, which is strategic. His silence speaks volumes." Crockett opened the folder. Headlines jumped out at her: Jasmine Crockett's joke falls flat, Patel's measured response resonates across party lines, from rising star to liability, Crockett's self-inflicted wound. She closed the folder. "I won't grovel to that man." "No one's suggesting that," Thomas said carefully, "but perhaps a sincere statement, not a tweet, not a defensive remark, just honest reflection." Crockett looked around the room. Melissa Grant, a longtime activist, put it plainly. "This isn't about politics. It's about decency. You can criticize policy without demeaning people." The fact that she's doubling down instead of listening tells me everything I need to know. Her words struck a chord. That clip was shared widely, even among Crockett's own supporters. The backlash deepened. A columnist for a major progressive magazine, once an outspoken fan of Crockett's directness, wrote, "There's a difference between boldness and belligerence. The first inspires. The second alienates." Even inside her own party, patience was wearing thin. A senior Democratic strategist, speaking anonymously, told a reporter, "We can defend progressive values. We can't defend self-inflicted wounds." As the controversy escalated, a growing number of prominent voices started distancing themselves. Fundraisers quietly cancelled events. A labor union that had endorsed Crockett released a statement emphasizing the need for leadership that unites rather than divides. And yet, Crockett remained defiant. 3 days after the town hall, she posted a tweet, "People always ask for strong leaders until they get one. I won't be bullied into silence." But the response wasn't what she expected. Instead of rallying support, the replies were full of former allies expressing frustration. One response stood out: "Strength isn't refusing to listen. Strength is knowing when to reflect and grow." That tweet had more likes than her original post. Kash Patel once again said nothing. He didn't need to. Maya Washington put it simply: "You can't effectively lead people if you can't recognize your own missteps." If you found it insightful, please hit subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going about accountability and leadership.